On this episode of One-on-One, we're going to go way back. One of my dearest friends is in the hot seat across from me, and we're going to start way back and work our way through it. Probably extra episodes today to get it all in. Harry McCulla is going to be my guest on One-on-One. You won't want to miss this show. We'll be right back. One-on-One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer. Those were fun times, weren't they?
It really were. But we knew everybody in town. We knew all the guys from East Houma. We knew all the guys from Terrebonne and H.L. Bourgeois. We went to Vanderbilt. But we all played each other during the summers or in Bantam League. We went from, we played with the Rebels in the Bantam League. Right. Of course, the Demons always had a great team. But we'd go play Skippy Ezel and the Tigers in East Houma. So we knew all those guys. And then in the summers, we'd play Perry Russo and Barry Pellegrin and Brian Life. We knew those guys, and we knew Dean Frank. So we knew everybody in the city. So when we went to the mall, we knew everybody in the mall. Right. Sometimes I walk around the mall going, I don't even know a soul here. But I remember when we were in high school, you knew everybody in the whole town because we all played those sports together. We didn't go travel to, Birmingham or Jackson or Shreveport every weekend, which again is awesome and whatever. Right. But those youth programs, Buddy Marcello was the lead of that. Right. We'd go from football to basketball to baseball, and it was awesome.
Well, you remember the Rebels? I get in the huddle, and I'm looking at Greg Hardy and Will Percy, two wide receivers. How did we lose a game?
The Demons, man.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Miles Fazio.
Yeah. And David Fake was quarterback. The Demons back.
Fake.
I'm trying to remember who else was
Jules Oob.
Jules Oob, yeah.
Greg Haydell was like a beast.
I remember the weigh-ins with Greg. Yeah. People would, I think they would make him fast. Yeah. Just so he could make the weight limit.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But, so we were playing all the sports. I remember we learned so much at St. Francis with Coach Juan.
Tennis and soccer. He brought us to soccer. Kyle Rowe Jr. was the guy we followed. But he got us into soccer and we played. So, we played soccer. We played all of that. Tennis, golf was just taking off. But during the 70s, that tennis boom.
He taught me how to serve.
Connors and
McCulla. You learn how to serve. Coach Juan does.
Yeah.
The fundamentals in basketball.
Yeah, he was like a little John Wooden.
Yeah, and he'd put that rim on the rim, that little free throw rim, and you'd have to get it. It was 9 inches wide, just the size of a basketball. And if you made it, we didn't have to run sprints.
Right.
So we got better. But my only claim to fame against Harry in baseball, I made the 5th grade baseball team at St. Francis.
Yeah, you did.
How you didn't make that team? And you go pro baseball late, I'm going, now, Coach Juan.
It inspired me, Martin, because I was going to play baseball. I was going to play football until that happened.
Me and Alex English.
Yeah.
I remember.
Remember Alex, lefty pitcher?
Yeah, he was a lefty pitcher. But
Alex Ash,
I'm sorry.
Alex English went on to play
his basketball for the Spurs. I'm just fumbling my words here. Let me ask you, when did you, I know, but this is for the audience. When did you start sense that, you were a great football player too, played both ways, and I'm sure you could have done what we all did, went into basketball, and you probably could have thrown the javelin or discus or something in track, but you started focusing in on baseball a lot. When did you sort of sense that this may be my ticket?
You were right. I was a late bloomer. I was a baby. I graduated. I was born in November. Yeah. So I was the youngest of the class most of the time. So I was kind of catching up the whole time. You look at some of you and me are about the same size. Brian Mullazon. Yeah. Some of those guys are a lot bigger.
He quit growing in the 9th grade.
But we were trying to catch up the whole time, and it really was. So you and I, actually, we go on a 2-8 team when we're sophomores. We don't even letter. I played a couple of special teams, but don't even letter on that team. By the time we got to baseball, I started catching up, and we had that great comeback against Terrebonne, where Coach took all of those seniors out, put all the sophomores
in. Wasn't it 11-1 they were leading?
They were leading us 11-1, and we come back and win at 12-11 in the final. But I got a couple of hits. Coach started letting me play a little bit, got a little confidence. And again, same time I'm growing up. And so I ended up starting on a team that usually had a lot of seniors on it. And then kind of confidence, meeting opportunity, meeting growth spurt, and that's when it took off right there.
Yeah.
And then that spring, that was our, remember after baseball, we'd go to football again. We'd do spring football right then. And then now I'm starting linebacker. I go from, not being able to even letter on a 2-8 team to now going both ways and doing pretty good on a team that ended up almost winning state championship.
In Terrebonne, I remember that game so clearly. They always had pitchers.
Yeah.
They had Dean Freeman. They had Ronnie
Paul
Hayden,
Fitch. Yeah.
Paul Fitch.
Yeah.
And you took Paul Fitch deep.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, let's say it for the camera. Paul, if you're watching, Harry took you deep. But wasn't that a great
I probably
rivalry?
gave up a few too.
Yeah, but wasn't that a great rivalry?
But that's what I was talking about. We knew all of those guys. I could go down the whole lineup. They had Ronnie
Craig
Hayden.
Bollinger, Niles Bollinger.
They had Niles at third. They had Danny Bezron at short.
Great
They had
short.
Falgu at second. They had Freeman. They had Fungi. They had Aaron Turner. They had Neville. So, I mean, it's funny how you can go through that entire team because we knew everybody.
And we knew Leonard Neville from kindergarten at St. Francis.
Absolutely.
So there was 6 degrees of separation.
So we knew all of those guys, but they were all great players because we all played against them, and they were all great, and they were all older than us too.
Right.
And they're kicking our seniors' butt at the time, and we got hot. It's one of those things that happens in baseball. Ended up winning it, and that kind of changed my whole track.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
You slowly became the go-to guy for baseball. And one thing I'll say about his older brother, Eddie, he does have some bragging rights too because they won the state championship. We should have won the state championship. We won't go down that road, but Eddie had that bragging right.
He did, until recently.
Yeah, but you started making gains in baseball. I'll say it, that sort of trumped that a little bit because you got to play on the Olympic team. You were highly touted coming out. You had choices where you were going to play. Let's talk about that. When did you first know at Vanderbilt? When did you start getting an inkling that, man, I'm going to the next level?
Probably our junior year. Sophomore, I was still a baby and just kind of learning, eyes wide open. But coming back our junior year, and that's when I started pitching too. Your muscles start developing a little bit, start hitting the ball out of the ballpark instead of against the wall a little bit. We could steal bases, we could play. I mean, we were all athletes. So you play, I played third, pitched, grew up as a catcher. But that's when it started. And we had some great teams. We should have won 2 state championships.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, though, that you didn't play your position, you played in the pros because Brian Molizon, Coach Gano and Coach Carr were both using people where they had them.
And Ronnie Mellor.
And Ronnie Mellor.
All 3 of us were catchers coming out of Babe Ruth, and we all got there. And again, I was 13, 14, and 15. We were all separated in ages.
Even though nobody ever wanted to warm up with Ronnie Mellor because he was throwing knuckleballs and stuff. You'd end up taking your shins off on some.
So Coach Gano was going to say, hey, Mellor, you can play first.
Right.
McCulla, go play third. Molizon's going to catch. So they just wanted to get us on the field.
Right.
So.
Get their athletes out there and all that. Got to remember clearly, your first choice, USL.
Well, my first choice is LSU, but.
Well, okay, all right, yeah.
No, I'll tell that story quickly.
Go ahead.
I mean, my dad went to LSU, room with Y.A. Tittle, right? Not room, but in the same suite.
Right.
He only stayed there a year, but he came back home when his dad died. But so we were LSU people, and back then LSU or Tulane, we were clearly purple and gold. And that's where I always wanted to go to school. Me and David were going to be roommates and ready to go. And we come out and they fire Smith, who was the baseball coach. And I think I was probably the best baseball player coming out of, in Louisiana that year. And nothing, Coach Albert even called him and said, hey, we got a kid that's kind of waiting, but he can't wait forever. And they said, well, he can come visit, but we're not going to make the coach. Back then, nobody really cared about college baseball.
Right.
But they didn't hire. So I was panicking. Look, they may bring in another guy that may bring in all junior college guys. So I didn't go to LSU, and UL had the best team in the state at that time, USL at the time. So Nichols wanted me to play football and baseball. Coach Cal Mees had called. But then it just looked like UL was the place to go at that time.
Yeah, but I know why you pick USL, because I used to make the drive to visit you and Brian Bolazon, and it wasn't just about baseball.
Lafayette was popping at that time now. Look, that was the oil field, right? That was the 70s.
Number one party school in America, according to Playboy
Lafayette
magazine.
was popping.
Yeah.
I mean, when on the recruiting visit, they would take you, down East Bayou Parkway and all the $1 million homes, and they would show you all the different places. And they would say, we have more millionaires per capita than anywhere else in America right here in Lafayette. I was like, well, you guys going to buy me a car? And they were like, no.
Today you could get one.
But
today you'd have your own show and everything, NIL all over it.
But so yeah, no, and it was a great time. As you know, we were going in between, Saturday Night Fever, with Travolta leading the way there, to Urban Cowboy, to him leading the way there. We were controlled by John Travolta for a few years there.
Right.
And that was a great time to be in Lafayette. You go to a disco with a lighted dance floor, and then you go over to Cowboy Place, and they got they have a bull, and everybody's wearing hats and bandanas,
Well, that bull busted my mouth one time, and the guy said, Harry and Drew Bro saved my life. Fantasies one night when I wrestled the bear, and I had a bandana on to look cool, and you reached in and pulled me out. Because I would have killed that bear.
I think that bear would have been in trouble. I saw that video the other day. I don't know if you were showing it or whatever. But,
Which one?
Jason had brought it. That video.
Oh, the bear?
That was the first night I ever shot a video. So I was working with you.
Yeah.
And of course, teaching me. We had remember that big battery belt? That thing looked like a Batman belt, right? It had all of this stuff around. But the thing weighed about 40 pounds.
Oh, it was, yeah.
You had to click it on. It was all hot. You were sweating. Right. And then you had the light. We had all those lights. But that was the first thing I'd ever shot in television. You obviously got
Ginger the wrestling bear.
Yeah.
Wow, way back when.
I beat him. Guys, she beat that bear. I beat him. Should have been technical knockout. The challenge has just been offered. Morton has got to jump out of an airplane. That's the next thing for him to do. You have to jump out of an airplane within the next 30 days. You're on.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
I remember after USL,
Yeah.
you ended up at UNO.
All right. So
To give me
all right. So
as I get older, I sort of screw it all up.
well, so was my career in the beginning. My major, Morton, was eligibility, right? so we got there and we played around a lot. We were like a fraternity, right? But we were playing pretty good, but the coach was the football. He was also the defensive line coach. Our spring, we played as a freshman and did okay, but the whole program just was in disarray because the guy didn't really care that much about it, and nobody else, And so he goes, "What you gonna do this summer after my freshman year?" I said, "Well, I'm probably going on and play Legion." He goes, "What'd you hit there last year?" I said, "I don't know, 600." He said, "Well, what do you want to hit 1,000 this year?" I'm like, "I don't know. Where am I supposed to play?" We didn't know anything about it, And he goes, "Well, no, I'm going to get you in a college league." And he got me in Clarinda, Iowa, which is up there. So I went to Clarinda, and Ozzie Smith had played there the year before. Von Hayes became a good friend, was on that team. A lot of pro guys that were playing, and it was a great college league. Guys from USC and all those Arizona State and all of these teams. You're playing with them and against them, and it was a great Jayhawk league. Was a great college league. Well, I've really learned how to play there. I mean, that's when the light came on. Learn how to catch, learn how to hit, and use all the feel and all that kind of stuff. Learned how to, call a game, pitch, catch. And then I came back for the fall, and again, everybody else is back still in, hey, we're still a fraternity. We're just going to go out, hang out, and drink all the time. And now I've kind of switched to like, I really think I could be like Ozzie Smith and Bon Hayes and go to that next level. We had scheduled 20 games to play in the fall. We ended up playing 2. The field was never ready. We had to go out there and do the field. It was like we had a couple of graduate assistants that had played in the year before. And again, we're just kind of wanting to party.
Right.
And it was like, I don't know what I'm going to, this is not where I need to be. So that summer, that winter, that coach from Jayhawk League comes down to the baseball meetings. We're at the Hilton in New Orleans. So we went and saw him, and I told him, man, this ain't great, And so he talks to this other guy, and a little while later he said, hey, this guy wants to talk to you. And it was a guy that had actually scouted this area. Larry Smith had scouted this area and it sent me a postcard or something from the Cincinnati Reds back in the day. He knew me. Mm-hmm. He's now the pitching coach at Arizona State, which at the time was, that's where Reggie Jackson played and Barry Bonds and all those guys. Arizona State was the LSU at this time. He goes, man, I would love you to be our catcher for out there. I'm like, oh, I'd love to go play. He goes, well, you can't transfer now. It's in January. He said, but I'll get you a job in the junior college at Central Arizona Junior College. Mm-hmm. You play there a year and then come play for us. So I went play there, and it was awesome. Got plenty of exposure. Started having, scouts are out there because they really cared about the West Coast. We got like 40 scouts when I'm doing infield and stuff. And by going to junior college, it made me eligible for the draft. So that's when I was drafted by Atlanta, 50th, and didn't sign, and because I was going to go to the Olympics that summer. Right. So we boycott the Olympics, and then Arizona State said, "Man, our catcher got drafted, didn't sign. He's still here. You can come compete with him." And then Ron Maestri said, hey, why don't you come play with us? And I was like, well, it's only going to be one semester. Yeah. I'll go play at UNO.
And they had a good program.
They had a great program.
Yeah.
And so I went there, and I had to graduate from junior college. I know this is – so I went to Delgado, played in the fall with UNO, went to Delgado just to graduate from junior college because I had to be there a year. Yeah. Graduated, but it made me eligible for the January draft. And I went number 1 overall to the Cardinals. So I screwed a couple of coaches in a couple of years. So I walked out, not on purpose, but I walked out on a UL coach right before the season. A year later, I walked out on Maestri right before the season. And not on purpose.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm in your house when you get the – did you get a $50,000 check?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I'm sitting there going –
yeah, but you know how that is, Martin. You know. $50,000 when you're 19 years old, half of that goes to taxes.
Right.
You buy a car, you meet a couple of crazy women, and you're broke again.
So by the end of the week, you were done.
I was done. I was right back to where I started.
No, but I remember all that. It was just and just like I tell a story when Mike Hader and them moved down the street when I was kids, and you were going to play ball, and going, man, I'm losing one of my best friends, but I would follow you.
Yeah.
You were having some good years.
Yeah,
you were hitting some home runs and doing some different things.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.